Such is the benevolence of Amida's great compassion that we must strive to return it even to the breaking of our bodies. Such is the benevolence of the masters and the true teachers that we must endeavor to repay it even to our bones becoming dust. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, everyone. Well, you probably noticed there is a little bit of an addition on our onaiji today. Well, of course, most importantly, we have a beautiful shrine set up in front of the altar today, which will be part of our program later, where we will honor our fallen soldiers who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. So I will get into that in just a moment. But I would first like to take this opportunity to thank Reverend Cindy for sitting up on the onaiji with me today. Today, White River does not have a Sunday service. They actually will have another set of services tomorrow on actual Memorial Day, where they will go to the cemetery visitations. So Reverend Cindy, well, she could have had a day off, but she decided to have service with us today, so we thank her very much for taking her precious time to sit up on the onaiji with me today. Today's Gosandai is a very important one. Many of us know the song Ondoksan-tu, or Ondoksan, and we probably sing it so many times we memorize the words probably in its classical Japanese, right? Yorai. And that's actually the gatha that we're going to be singing today. It's a very popular gatha, or it's a very popular wasan, because of its nature of gratitude, its signal of gratitude. And I couldn't think of a better gosandai to share with you all today than that of Memorial Day, where we honor all of our fallen soldiers and who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Now, this weekend is Memorial Day. So this is a time usually where, lots of parts of the country, the weather starts to heat up more. We have a 3-day weekend, right? So lots of people get Monday off. Schools are closed also as well on Monday. It's a long weekend ahead. So I even saw on the news report that, SeaTac, or, the Seattle airport is very crowded and packed, and they're preparing for huge amounts of travel. They also say, if you want to go to Mount Rainier National Park, the article was pretty hilarious. The headline was, or the title of the article was, if you want to visit Rainier National Park, bring your patients with you. So, because to indicate that the roads are also blocked up. There's lots of traffic on the freeways. I'm certain Friday was a mess. For those of you who drove on the freeway on Friday, there's probably a whole lot of people going every which way, probably taking this opportunity to go on a vacation, to go, probably take a trip somewhere, to visit relatives, to visit places, and to have lots and lots of fun. Again, right, we have all of these holidays here in our country, right? We have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, we have Veterans Day, we have the 4th of July, and Martin Luther King holiday. And, we sort of, I think, have gotten to see these holidays as a time where we can take a break or relax or go on a trip or go on a long vacation or go on a kind of an extended vacation and take some time for ourselves. I remember my family during my time growing up, we would always go to Lake Tahoe on Labor Day weekend, right? So the last 3-day weekend before school starts. So there's all of these holidays that happen, and we kind of see these as opportunities to kind of take time to relax and go on vacation. Sadly, also I saw another news report as well that Memorial Day, between Memorial Day and Labor Day, marks what law enforcement calls the 100 deadliest days, which is when teenagers tend to get into really bad car accidents and the number of vehicular crashes and accidents really skyrocket during this time of year. It starts on Memorial Day, goes all throughout summer, and then doesn't go down until Labor Day is done. And so, these are just the realities that we live in, of course. But I think, again, one of the things that I really appreciated seeing was that there was a picture actually on Facebook. I'm not too much into Facebook memes or anything like that, or little feel-good posts about this or that. But there was one post that I did actually see that really did make me appreciate Memorial Day once again. And that was, sadly, the picture of soldiers all touching the coffin of a fallen soldier, and the caption read, this is why, or the reason why you get to have a 3-day weekend, right? It's very easy for us as people to take our freedoms for granted, the way that we do things for granted, and our holidays for granted. And we never stop to think, I think, many of the times we never stop to consider why we actually have this day, for remembrance in the first place. This, I think, is an important time for us to remember the brave soldiers who fought for their country and sacrificed themselves in order to make a better world for all of us. Now, for the record, Buddhists, as all of us Buddhists, we do not condone war, we do not say that war is the answer, we do not condone violence, and we do not say that, we should all be armed and ready to fight, right? We're not, for the record, Buddhists we are a religion of peace, we advocate for peace, and we never see violence as the answer. However, we can also not escape the reality that, in order for many countries to survive, they also need some type of active defense force as well. But also we have to remember the great sacrifice that the past soldiers have given for our country as well. Up here on the altar we see 9 faces of soldiers who fell in service for their country. For those of you who haven't read yet, I highly recommend a book called American Sutra, written by Reverend Dr. Duncan Buchanan Williams, who is a Zen priest, who wrote extensively about the Buddhists who were interned in internment camps during World War II. Believe it or not, many of the soldiers who fought in the 442nd and the 100th Battalion, who sacrificed themselves for their country, who wronged them, I should mention, were Buddhists. There's a chapter in this book, American Sutra, called Onward Buddhist Soldier. Now it seems kind of like a dichotomy, doesn't it? A Buddhist soldier. Aren't we a religion of peace? Yes, we are, but so are all other religions. We are a religion of peace, but that doesn't stop us from honoring the sacrifices and the bravery that these soldiers made. Many of you might remember the story of the Lost Battalion, when the 442nd and 100th Battalion combined forces actually marched up this hill, many of them to their deaths, to save a lost battalion of soldiers from Texas. And it's very amazing for me. It brings me to tears almost when they were all honored by the president at the time. But I think by that time it was Truman, who was president, who honored them and actually looked at all of the soldiers, and there was very few of them there. And he asked them, "Where's the rest of you?" And they responded, "This is the rest of us." It can't be forgotten that without these soldiers, many of us would not be here. It cannot be forgotten that in armed conflict, many of these soldiers rose to the call and fought for their nation as well. The sense of duty was the thing that drove them. The sense of duty was the calling that called them to service. The sense of duty and sense of family, sense of community, and sense of love for their country was their sacrifice. Many of us have different callings in life. Many of us have deep feelings of service and gratitude. But we cannot ever enough thank the soldiers who fought bravely and died for us. I will also say, it's very conflicting for us as well at times. For I also had family, so many of us who are here, who are Japanese American, may have also had family who fought for Japan during World War II. And many of you know, there in the United States and Japan, there are two warring factions against each other. I remember very well that when I went to go visit my family relatives in Kumamoto, Japan, they asked me to perform a service for my great uncle, who was a Tokai pilot in World War II, who died at the Battle of Okinawa. Many of you know this, many of you know the term Tokai, many of you do not know the term Tokai pilot, but more commonly known as kamikaze pilot. He also sacrificed himself for his country. Now, war is a terrible thing. Armed conflict between two countries should never happen. Peace is always the route that we should go. And war only leads to pain. However, we still as Buddhists realize the true reality that we live in. That sometimes in our lives, sadly, war does happen. We don't necessarily agree with war. We don't necessarily support, the cause or the reasons behind it. But at the same time, we can also go and honor our soldiers who sacrifice themselves for our country. This is a dichotomy, I think, that we as Buddhists have to live with all the time, especially as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists. We don't often talk about, our imperfections. We talk about them a lot, actually, but we don't often, I think, acknowledge them enough. We are imperfect beings. But as Buddhists as well, especially as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, we are all accepted within Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion. This is the important part I'm coming to here. The Buddhist soldiers, all of us, right? Many of them took refuge in Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion. War is never a course that we want to take. Yet, soldiers, all beings, all sentient beings, are welcomed into Amida Buddha's Pure Land. In the Pure Land, there is no war. In the Pure Land, we are not divided by nations. We are not divided by military force, who has more, who has less, who is more beautiful, who has more status. In the Pure Land, we are all equal sentient beings receiving wisdom and compassion from Amida Buddha. In this world of samsara now, while we intellectually know that there are no differences between us as people, as human beings, we have physical and surface level differences all around. We speak different languages. We salute a different flag. But in the end, we are all humans embraced by Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion. In the end, that wisdom and compassion reaches us from the Pure Land. All these soldiers who sacrificed themselves valiantly for their country were born in the Pure Land. This I have no doubt of. Our enemies, our friends, are all born into the Pure Land, where we are not blinded by our self-centered ego or greed. This is the example, I believe, that we can all live as in this world. We can do our best to try and live this example. Armed conflict is a terrible thing, but a soldier's bravery is something that's never to be taken for granted or forgotten. Please join me in Gasho. Such is the benevolence of Amida's great compassion that we must strive to return it, even to the breaking of our bodies. Such is the benevolence of the masters and true teachers that we must endeavor to repay, even to our bones becoming dust. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.